I don't think that we as humans in physical bodies actually can physically quit. I don't think we know how to do that. I don't think our spirit lets us quit, since there's all this other stuff that there's so much weight pressing against us that we don't always have the wherewithal to overcome all that.
Yes, and I just love what you just said, because so think about the ramifications of that, right? When I say I quit, I don't really quit. I just ruminate on the feeling of quitting. So now what happens is guilt and shame and regret and all these things begin to pile on me because I'm almost haunted by the thing that I know I didn't really quit. I paused. And I'm realizing that if I could find the courage to hit the pause button and get back to it, that maybe whatever I was meant to accomplish, I could, but now it feels like I've waited too long. Oh, maybe I'm rusty. Maybe it's too late. Maybe I can't get it right. What's the point? And so you're never actually quitting. You're just sitting in the pause, allowing and ruminating in the pause and marinating in the pause. And one thing I've often said, you talked about those voices. If you don't take action in those moments, then the external voices of doubt become the internal voices of doubt. Everybody who told you what you couldn't do and what you couldn't be and that it wouldn't work out and just give it time, it becomes now the voice that echoes on the inside of you, and now it's your voice telling you, well, it was never going to work out and it was never going to do. And now you didn't just pause, but now your pauses become your identity. Now you're just a quitter. Now you're the person who didn't make it. Now you begin to identify with the feelings you're ruminating in, right? And it makes sense. We just had Thanksgiving. A lot of people, they do the turkey on Thanksgiving, or they do, and so some people do steaks on Thanksgiving. Whatever it is you do, the best meat is made when you marinate it for a while. You take it and you put some spices on it, and you let those spices let it just sit in those spices long enough that now the flavor of what it's sitting in begins to evade into the meat. So when I take a bite, every bite has what it was sitting in. Well, what happens when I sit in my doubts? When I sit in all of my worries and my insecurities? When I just sit in my fears? If I do that for long enough, now when people get to sample me, that's the flavor they get of me. It's me with a side of doubt or fear or worry or whatever it is. And so the key is I've got to know I can't sit in this. I can't stay here. I'm going to get here sometimes, but I can't stay here. I got to do whatever I got to do to get out of it. Sometimes you got to pay for a professional. Sometimes you got to go for a walk and get some fresh air. Sometimes you need to go on a vacation and take a break and just think about life. There's a lot of things you can do, but you can't stay sitting in those bad emotions.
And we don't have to clear all that up before we can do what we want to do.
Sure don't.
Continue your meat metaphor, all of these things are bones that when someone samples us, as you said, they get a piece of bone too. Because this stuff has come in and it's what we believe is helping hold us up, perhaps. It's not a big deal that they get a bone. They'll pick it out. They might say, oh, that hurt because it poked them in the cheek or whatever. And then they toss it out and they continue on. I don't know anyone who has ever stopped eating a meal and thrown away the food because they got a bone. It's
right, exactly.
Part of what happens. Everyone knows when I eat food that might have bones or other foreign substances in it. It's going to happen every so often. It's not a judgment on the cook. It's not a judgment on me. It's not a judgment on anyone else who is involved in the production of that food. It's just something that happens. And the same is true when I'm having a conversation with my boss or an important prospective client or someone that works for me, and something triggers words I don't expect to say come out, or even just I have a tone slightly different than I wanted to have, and that causes the other person to trigger. It's not a big deal. All this stuff is transient. We can come back to it. never damaging to the point of conversation can't continue from there.
I think that the difference for many of us is that when we're doing technical work, we understand that technical work has a process and I must see the process through. And it's a much more difficult and arduous task to see the process through emotionally, right? So if I'm programming something, there's a beginning, a middle, and an end, and then there's a review, and then and I can just keep going through processes and procedures. When life is about emotions, I start wondering, am I doing this wrong? Because nobody really teaches you how to have emotions and how to deal with emotions and how to work through emotions. And so, and by the way, you never get to the end, right? I remember someone asked me one day when I first became a coach, they said, Maurice, what qualifies you to sit in front of another person and coach them? You don't have your whole life figured out. And I said, who said that I have to have it all figured out to help someone figure it out? It's not actually a requirement. That's not a real thing, right? So anytime you're sitting in front of another person, you are simply an outsider asking the right questions and then offering some of the right perspectives and then giving some of the right goals and providing accountability so that they can get through a process. And so I have helped people who had situations I didn't understand. Things that I was unqualified in my own bank account or unqualified. They've got 75 employees and I have a one-man business. they're a CEO and they're making millions and like someday can I please make my first one, right? And yet what I've learned is that it's not about the fact that I've reached a destination that I can help people. It's that I've been willing to go on and stay on the journey that matters. And so anybody who's listening, what I would say is, you're not going to just like get to the end of a thing. You have to be willing to get into an ongoing pursuit of the best version of you. You're going to be constantly growing and constantly maturing and constantly changing, and that's okay. And there's going to be some bones sometimes. You're going to hit some snags. You're going to get frustrated or you're going to frustrate someone else. That's okay. It's part of the process. That's how you actually grow and learn and develop, is when you hit the error, when you get to the place where it's like, man, I don't know what to do now. Well, that's when I grow, because sometimes what you have to do is becoming the next version of you. And here's the last thing I'd say on this point. Sometimes people are afraid to grow because they know the version that they've always known. And what I would say to you, if that's how you feel, is remember that you're always growing. You can either grow apathetic, grow afraid, grow frustrated, grow bitter. See, there's all these things I can grow into. Some of you, you're hearing it, you're like, oh gosh, I felt those things, right? Or you can grow more mature. You can grow bolder. You can grow healthier, right? So I'm always growing. It's just what direction am I growing in? And so now it's not about this like finish line. It's not about a make-believe like I just got to get to this place and I'll be okay. It's about the journey.